Happy Library Wednesday, boys and girls. Today for story time, we are going to read another oldie but goodie. It's part of a series, the Frog and Toad series by Arnold Lobel. It was another one of my favorite series growing up. It's been so much fun sharing some of my favorite stories from when I was a little girl. It's been a lot of fun to go through some of my old books, see how well read but still put together they are. I hope you've been enjoying. Today, this book actually has a few stories in the same book, so we're only going to read one of them, and it's going to be Frog and Toad, the Garden. I think it's a perfect time of the year since we're all starting to plant those beautiful flowers. I know I did some work in my garden this past weekend. Hopefully you can get outside and help Mom and Dad with your gardens. I hope you guys enjoyed the story, Frog and Toad, the Garden. Frog was in his garden. Toad came walking by. "What a fine garden you have, Frog," he said. "Yes," said Frog, "it is very nice, but it was hard work." "I wish I had a garden," said Toad. "Here are some flower seeds. Plant them in the ground," said Frog, "and soon you will have a garden." "How soon?" asked Toad. "Quite soon," said Frog. Toad ran home. He planted the flower seeds. "Now, seeds," said Toad, "start growing." Toad walked up and down a few times. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head close to the ground and said loudly, "Now, seeds, start growing." Toad looked at the ground again. The seeds did not start to grow. Toad put his head very close to the ground and shouted, "Now, seeds, start growing." Frog came running up the path. "What is all this noise?" he asked. "My seeds will not grow," said Toad. "You are shouting too much," said Frog. "These poor seeds are afraid to grow." "My seeds are afraid to grow?" asked Toad. "Of course," said Frog. "Leave them alone for a few days. Let the sun shine on them, let the rain fall on them. Soon your seeds will start to grow." That night, Toad looked out of his window. "Drat," said Toad, "my seeds have not started to grow. They must be afraid of the dark." Toad went out to his garden with some candles. "I will read the seeds a story," said Toad. "Then they will not be afraid." Toad read a long story to his seeds. All the next day, Toad sang songs to his seeds, and all the next day, Toad read poems to his seeds, and all the next day, Toad played music for his seeds. Toad looked at the ground. The seeds still did not start to grow. "What shall I do?" cried Toad. "These must be the most frightened seeds in the whole world." Then Toad felt very tired, and he fell asleep. "Toad, Toad, wake up," said Frog. "Look at your garden." Toad looked at his garden. Little green plants were coming up out of the ground. "At last," shouted Toad, "my seeds have stopped being afraid to grow." "And now you will have a nice garden too," said Frog. "Yes," said Toad, "but you were right, Frog. It was very hard work." The end. I hope you guys enjoyed that story. They are rather short, but there are several of them. It is a wonderful series. I hope you guys consider picking it up. For your assignment today, what I want you to do is, you do not have to stick to the Frog and Toad stories. I want you to think of all the stories that you've read, all the stories that we've read, and I want you to think of your favorite character. So again, characters are the people or animals in our story that the story is about. I don't know if you guys remember, for Halloween, I dressed up as the mouse from If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. One of my favorite stories, and therefore the mouse is probably one of my favorite characters. So I drew the mouse from If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. So that's what I want you to do today. I want you guys to think about your favorite characters from one of your favorite stories. It can be any story that you've read, and go ahead and draw him. The other thing I want to challenge you guys to do is to read somewhere that you don't normally read. So when you change where you read, it can actually change how comfortable you get. It can actually change up how much you relax if you just change your scenery. So when I'm reading to you guys, I read in my office. That is because I have two dogs, one of which is a puppy, and I also have a fiance. So my house is not always quiet or calm. So when I'm making my videos, I read in here. However, when I'm reading my stories, the ones that I read for myself, just for fun, I have a little nook, a little reading nook off the side of my kitchen. It has a nice little couch, and it overlooks my backyard. So I like to read there. It's very relaxing. So I want you to think of where you normally read, and then I want you to read somewhere else. Just try it out. Sometimes, again, changing your scenery can actually help you a little bit more. It can help you enjoy your stories a little bit more as well. So that is what I want you guys to do today. If you draw your character, go ahead and send me a picture. I look forward to seeing them, and I will see you all next week. Have a good day.